Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Everyday Preparedness Podcast, where we are here to help you be prepared for life's everyday obstacles. Hope everybody's doing well. You can get a hold of us on their website. That's everydaypreparedness.net. We got email. Send us whatever you want to send us that's preparedness related, preferably, at edpreparedness@gmail.com. Once again, that's edpreparedness@gmail.com. If you guys got questions or have answers to questions we've posed or want to chat about some of this, feel free to, hit us up. We've also got a Facebook that's facebook.com/edprepare. We're starting to get a few likes on there. We got some exciting things coming up, so be sure to check that out. Give us a like. We've also got a Twitter that's @edprepare. Be sure to check that out. I know we do, a lot of cool stuff. Try to post some stuff on there quite a bit. We've got a YouTube. Be sure to check it out as well. You just have search for Everyday Preparedness, and we'll come up. They were pretty easy to find on there, honestly. I've actually tried, so it works out pretty well. We're going to do a little bit different type of show today. We actually had a good buddy of ours. He approached me with a few questions and everything. He's like, hey, I've got all these questions. I don't really know where to start. Zan and I have been trying to get this guy started on this for I don't know how many years now. And he usually looks at me like I'm some sort of paranoid freak, which is probably true enough. But anyway, he's a good dude. He's new to this, so we thought, well, hey, instead of doing generic email question and answers, we'd get him on the show so he could actually say it because, he's a newbie. Chances are, if you're a newbie listening to this, you've got some similar questions. And either way, it's a different type of show, and it's fun. So,
yeah, we can get a couple different perspectives on it too, with two of us answering.
Exactly. And Andrew's a good, smart guy, so I'm going to introduce him and let him kind of tell you a little bit if he wants to about himself, or he can start, yelling questions at us, whichever. Andrew, what do you think, buddy?
Not a lot. Not enough, actually.
Not enough.
I don't know. I'm Andrew. That's about it. Caseworker with a community mental health center here in Springfield. So I spend a lot of time working with chronic and persistently mentally ill adults, including visiting them in their homes, taking them to doctor's appointments, that kind of stuff. So some of this is pertinent because occasionally I have something happen like, I don't know, I'll be taking someone to a doctor's appointment and they decide they're having a bad day and decide to pull a knife on me. So I have to, react to those situations in a way that preserves my well-being while, maintaining theirs. So that's a little bit different situation.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know that I've ever actually even thought about anything like that. Honestly, have you, Zan?
I've talked to different people who are kind of into preparedness movement that are into different kinds of jobs, but this is one that I don't think I've talked to anybody that's in this field yet.
So this could be real fun. We could either find out exactly how ignorant we are, or we could come up with some good stuff. So
either way, we're going to have good discussions.
That's right. That's all it's about anyway. So
okay, well, fun stuff. That's what it is all about. My first question I had, really, and this is something that I was thinking about the other day just because I've got the family, the 3 kids, the wife, and I don't always have all 3 of my kids, so it's not really feasible to have a get-home bag or a bug-out bag for everybody at this point because the kids are like 5, 4, and not even 2, so I'm trying to figure out what how it would be to modify a personal get-home bag or a bug-out bag to a family setting for something like that. Because, the kids aren't adults, so they aren't going to have the same nutritional needs. They aren't going to have the same needs in a lot of ways. So there's going to be some difference there. I'd have to have, diapers or something like that. But just wondering if you guys had any thoughts on any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow. Zan, you want to start?
Yeah, first question I have, are you planning it? Are you around them most of the time, or is this something where you're going to be separated pretty normally?
I have them about half the time overnight. I have them 4 days overnight one week and 3 days overnight the next.
Because my first thought was if you're going to be with them, you're just going to have to carry as much as you can for them. That's pretty simple. You can. I know it's not feasible really to have them do everything, but I can look at it like I look at my dogs. They really can't even do as much as a child could, but they have specialized backpacks that they can carry very, very light stuff. And like you were talking about diapers, I'm sure you could get a little bag that one of them could carry to just put diapers in if you had to, anything to save some room. If you're going to be separated, you might have to make a separate one for whoever's going to be there with them, whatever adult is going to be taking care of them at the time. Have just one big bag specifically designed to help all the kids if you're not there with them. So, Brent, what do you think?
Well, what I was going to say, you could do that. I mean, that's a good idea, having the separate backpacks and stuff for them. The other thing I was thinking is, you're always going to have your wife. I mean, I know, more about your situation than, about anybody listening. So, keeping a bag, to give to somebody, else whenever you don't have the kids may not be feasible. I'm kind of like Zan. I think just having them carry whatever they can. I mean, one of your kids is old enough, he can carry a decent amount in a backpack. I mean, he's not going to be carrying weights or anything, But I think he could do all right with one. Like you said, just diapers or something like that.
Yeah, all the light stuff you could put into one bag and then put all the heavy stuff and carry that yourself.
And, you're going to have one between you and your wife, probably one each. And if you do that, you could almost split out the difference. Because if you're just going for a get-home bag and you're not trying to do a bug out, my get-home bag might weigh 15, 20 pounds on a heavy day. If I've added some stuff to it, it's just really not that heavy. So, I mean, adding some diapers, a few extra, Cliff Bars, stuff like that.
Keep it super practical, especially on that with the weight concern. Don't. We've talked in the past shows about how you kind of start getting wrapped up in stuff that you really don't need. So I would advise, especially if the kids are carrying stuff, to keep it super practical for their sake on their end.
Yeah, just, follow the what is it, the KISS, the keep it simple, stupid mentality on it. And, because, I mean, honestly, you got the kids and everything. You don't have to go way overboard. They don't each need their own, M4 with, belt-fed mags, I think you could do actually really well with just splitting it out between you and your wife's bags, and then have another bag for like the oldest kid, with just like the diapers and the good simple light stuff. And that way, you're not overburdening anybody with anything. And you could keep most of that in the car all the time anyway. So even when you don't have them, it would still be there for when you do.
Yep, I agree.
Sounds awesome. Good input. And that was one of my biggest things, just trying to figure out how to encourage my kids to, get involved in this and kind of give them that sense of responsibility, and at the same time participating without, they're, like I said, the oldest is not even 6, so he's not really at a point where he can understand, like, even the gravity of potentially what this could mean, given a certain situation, given a tornado or something like that. In the case of a bug-out bag, he doesn't understand that. He can't wrap his head around that yet. So trying to find a way that gets him involved and still lets him be part of it and lets him help and, just all of that.
Well, I know whenever my parents bought some, like, bags for their grandkids. Now, the grandkids are a little bit older than yours are, but they enjoyed going through the bag and all this and that and playing through everything and, kind of learning how to do it. And they take those bags with them everywhere they go. It was kind of an exciting thing that they got into. So I don't know, you could, kind of approach it that way. Almost like something fun, teach them how to use it all, like a camping in the living room or something like that, teach them how to use everything and let them know that they are helping. And in a lot of ways, in a bad situation, them not understanding the gravity may be the best thing for you and them, honestly.
One thing I thought of, too, is you might try to, because obviously they're not going to understand a lot of these situations that could be going on. So you might start off with just the entertainment aspect. I know, Brent, me and you have talked a lot about entertainment, how that gets kind of looked over, especially with kids and if you have a pet. And that's one thing you could start off with on the bag, explain to them maybe why you have some of this necessity stuff, but then make sure that they're packing a toy or a book or whatever it is they really like to do. Make sure they're keeping that with them all the time, and they'll kind of associate the two together, and they'll always have some form of entertainment, but yet they'll be helping, like Brent, like you said, and they will slowly start learning all of these other aspects of preparedness along with having their own entertainment. And if they start keeping track of their own stuff like that, I think that could go a long way.
Yeah, most kids, at young ages, they always want to help. I mean, half the time they're in the way. Well, I want to help. I want to do this. I want to do that. So, I mean, I think just kind of playing on that natural impulse kids seem to have could be very useful in a situation like that. So.
Okay. Well, my next, I guess my next true question, so to speak, is, I mean, it's along those same lines, like I said, with the family and everything, and trying to provide an adequate setup for everybody. I know you guys both are pretty firm believers in that something is better than nothing. A little bit of anything is going to be better than nothing. But how do you guys feel about? There's a lot of people that are stuck on brands or a name brand or something like that. Given the situation, I mean, I can't really, I don't know how you want to say it, can't really, in good conscience, hook my 6-year-old up with a 6-year-old 6-inch, fixed blade knife and whatever else and watch him lop his thumb off.
Right.
But, at the same time, when I'm buying, extra, water purification and any of that kind of stuff, how do you guys feel about some of the, basically like getting a generic, a Walmart brand or maybe even one of those tactical type things as opposed to the true useful stuff in those situations.
Now, Zane, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you when I first started what I did, because mine wasn't so much. Of course, I wanted to get the good stuff, but mine was more budget conscious. Anybody that knows me personally knows I'm a huge cheapskate and I hate spending money on anything. But I took a bag and I just went around the house. And I had a checklist that I got offline, which we have our own checklist, by the way, now, so we'll have to send that link out later. But I just went around the house and I went up and down this checklist, and anything I had, household item, I needed lighting. Okay, well, I had at least one lighter, and I had some candles. Okay, good, set. They're not the weatherproof candles, or they weren't any. They were just cheap, dollar store candles, but hey, at least it was in a bag, and it was definitely better than nothing. And as far as getting started, I would rather get kind of, try to grab anything you can around the house just to get started, and then once you kind of hit all those check marks, then maybe start testing this stuff out and replacing it as you need to go. I think there's some things that you definitely need to spend the money on and get something good, and that not even necessarily a brand, just get something good quality. I mean, if you're talking bags, knives, firearms, stuff like that, there's so many good brands out there. It's more so there's more to there's probably less to stay away from than there is good ones, if that makes sense. But there's also some things that you can keep in your bags or keep on you or whatever that you're just as good getting the really cheap stuff. It just varies on different things. Brent, thoughts?
I'm with you, honestly. I am not a brand snob in any way, shape, or form. And anymore, the quality of metal's gone up quite a bit among most brands as far as like knives and stuff goes. I would say get the best you can afford. Now, I don't, go broke and go crazy trying to get this and that and everything. I'm like Zan, get you a bag and go ahead and get one that you can carry comfortably and you don't think is going to fall apart. Whether it's tactical or, old school, it doesn't really matter as far as that goes, as long as you know how to use it. But I would go, like Zan said, I'd go around the house. I'd get the checklist for just a simple thing. You know your situation. You know what you're probably going to need. Give some thought to where you normally find yourself and kind of the worst case scenario you would be most likely to find yourself in, like the farthest from home that you're somewhat routinely, and kind of plan from there. But I mean, as far as, knives and stuff like that, the Walmart Gerbers, I've had a great time with a lot of those cheap Gerber knives as far as just like beating them up, tearing them up, and then, taking an edge again and working great. So I mean, I wouldn't worry the brand so much. I would get the best you can afford, but I wouldn't go overboard. And if you can't afford good right now, like Zan said, go buy you a pack of Bic lighters and some dollar store candles, that type mentality, and just do what you can and add to it. You can always add to it later on.
One other thing I want to throw in real quick, since we're talking branding and budget, like I don't go out and buy the super the stuff that's marketed for tactical stuff. We've thrown that term around a little bit. Bud K, that's a place that sells a lot of that stuff, and it looks cool, and they want to market it towards this is ultimate survival knife with everything you need. But the problem is that blade, pretty good chance, unless you're just using it for like a backyard beater knife kind of thing. If you actually had to rely on that thing, it'd probably break, and you could probably go to Walmart and I think you'd be better off with a $15 pocket knife, a little 3-inch pocket knife from Walmart than you would one of these ultimate survival blades from all these different retailers. So same thing with guns too. Don't cheap out on the high points or anything when you could spend like $100 more and get Kel-Tec or that's just my thing with the guns and the knives. Just don't get something that looks cool just because it's marketed that way. Like you said, the Gerber pocket knife, you can't really go wrong with that just to start things off. So that's my thing with the branding. That's all I had on that.
Cool. Something else, and this will be a lot of the similar vein, different things, getting started, trying to put stuff together. Was thinking just with the, like where we live or, the area, a lot of people don't have access to anything other than like, say Walmart. Where would you guys recommend? What's your best option for getting stuff otherwise?
As far as like places to go and order from and everything, 2 stores come to mind that are fantastic. I know Zans did a review for one of their products, lapolicegear.com and knifecenter.com. I've bought a lot of stuff from both of them and have been very happy with customer service and product. I know it's ordering online and everything, but they usually have pretty good free shipping.
And then some of the stuff too that I've listened to a couple of the podcasts and tried to go out and look for some of the stuff, and some of it is just kind of hard to locate in this area, like I said. So figuring out what works and what doesn't for some of it, as far as like, the most common one I've been looking for lately is like trying to find good ponchos, and I can find a lot of those. Like Zan had mentioned a couple podcasts back about the real cheap, like 98-cent ponchos that, technically if it starts raining a little bit, it'll probably help you for, the ball game. But it's not really going to be something you can use more than probably once. So trying to find something that's got grommets that you can use as a shelter, with some paracord or something going forward, trying to figure out something like that. I don't know, because even at Walmart, like a lot of the stuff they have isn't anything near the caliber of what we're really looking for.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say on that, because I'm guilty of this, is be very selective. You're going to want to get in a rush to get all this stuff done. If you need that 99-cent poncho, go get it and throw it in there just to have it. But then once you get that done, start really pinpointing. Like you said, there's not a lot of stuff in this area, so you kind of have to be selective. And if you order online, you're almost taking a chance. You got to rely a lot upon reviews and word of mouth. That's one thing I ran into. I didn't do it really bad, but I definitely bought a few things that I didn't really need looking back on it, or it wasn't that great of a product just because I was impulse. I was wanting to get things as quick as I could just to have it. But back to the stores a minute. I have bought more things from Walmart and Army Surplus, and actually multiple surplus stores in this area between Springfield and Branson than any other store. If I need like everyday carry stuff, or if I want to buy a really good pocket knife, or I need some AR accessories or tactical pants or a belt or something, definitely LA Police Gear, because their prices are really good and they've got a review section, and you can always find a lot of their products reviews online everywhere. So
another question. This is just kind of, I don't know, a lot of this is geared towards just the very basics of getting started. Obviously, that's why I'm here, doing this with you guys tonight. But was wondering thoughts on some of the bags. I know we had talked, or I've talked to Brent personally a couple of times, and I've heard you guys mention that trying to, Brent's fabled fanny pack system, or just a small sling bag or whatever you can kind of keep around. But do you guys have any thoughts on? Is there anything that's absolutely necessary for like the construction of the actual bag itself? I've seen a lot of different ones that are, this one has some molly on it. This one is, has exterior water repellent. This one's more a hiking one that's got some lashes for the your walking sticks, and this one's got a waterproof cover over the top of it, and different things like that. This one's, ultralight for intense hiking or whatever. Just trying to see what you guys were thinking about that, if anything, versus, just a regular freaking school backpack you get for $10 in August.
I would say, honestly, that you can get by with, if just to get something in a hurry, you can get by with an old school backpack, and you can always carry like a trash bag around in case you're carrying it and it rains. Having Molly on it is very, very nice because you can attach stuff to it, or having any sort of lashing system is fantastic. Lightweight would be good, just because, you don't want to sit there and carry a whole lot. But I mean, there's no real reason, unless you just really want to go out and spend like $300-$400 on like an Everly stock or some of those. I mean, nothing against them. It's way more money than I could ever wish to spend. I mean, I think I paid like $40, I think, for the one I carry now. And I thought that was high at the time. I mean, it's turned out really well, but I mean, it's basically just an old backpack with a water bladder. It's what I keep for my get-home bag.
It depends on, I think, what you're looking at. I think you can spend a lot less and get a lot smaller practical bags for get-home bags. I mean, shoot, I've seen some people even use like just the over-the-shoulder sling bags that are made for like tablets or computers or something. You could get away with that, really. I've even seen some people use those there's those bags that come with the drawstrings that you keep shoes in. I mean, I wouldn't think that would be that sturdy, but I've seen people do it online. So I think the get-home bag probably is, you don't have to worry as much about that. A cheap backpack would probably work just fine. I would probably spend more money on a bug-out bag, though, because you're going to want to keep more stuff in it. So probably the bigger size on that would be good. Molly and the water repellent stuff, whether it's got a water bladder, whether it's got the iron frame in it or whatever, all that stuff's just kind of your choice. But I think on the get-home bag, I would probably spend a little bit less and not worry about it as much because you're just going to have it thrown in your car.
Yeah, one other thing I would add is the ability to grow. Don't have it like packed so full, or get a bag so small that it can only hold just everything you absolutely have to have. It's nice whenever you have a little bit of room to grow in case you run across something you need to put in there, or something you forgot, didn't even think about or whatever. You have room to throw in there.
If you're like us too, you're going to constantly evolve. So there's going to be things you end up taking out and putting in. So Brent, that's a great point as far as having that, even just the extra square inch, because sometimes these things get packed so full that you can't hardly zip them. And having that extra 1 or 2 square inches of room to kind of fluctuate with is always nice.
Do you guys have any? As I was looking through this different stuff again. I know this is something we've kind of already touched on a little bit, but there are some of these companies that, I mean, they make a lot of quality stuff in one area, but they're kind of branching out to stuff. Like what's coming to mind at this point, SOG, I mean, they've got some pretty good knives and stuff like that out, but now they've got all the tactical vests and all that stuff out at Walmart, tactical belts, and I'd actually seen a bag over there that I thought would be pretty appropriate for a get-home type situation. Thoughts on any of that stuff? I mean, as far as that goes, the branching out and just the non-specialized, for lack of a better term.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know you actually really like the shovel that you've got from them, the collapsible shovel. I mean, I've got one of their tomahawks. It's been pretty good. I mean, I chopped down like a 5 or 6 inch tree with the thing the other day, and it did fantastic with it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking SOG, just as an example, that's a company that makes phenomenal tools and equipment. As far as bags and belts and any kind of other things that they have out there, I'm not gonna like discount them or anything, but the first thing I would look at something like that is I'm cheap. I'd go back to the price. If it's maybe just a little bit more than what if you're looking at a get-home bag, again, if it's got more compartments and it's just a little bit more than a backpack, yeah, I would definitely get it. But if it's like, say, triple the price and it's going to only hold about the same stuff, that's, again, going back to the branding thing, that's probably where I would just default to the cheaper backpack than I would that.
Yeah, and as far as like vests and belts and everything, I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually I use every single day a Aries Gear Ranger belt, and I'm not even going to mention how much I paid for that thing. I absolutely love it. I will end up buying a second one, but honestly, if you're not carrying like firearms and a whole lot of weighted stuff, a lot of those belts you can get by with a whole lot cheaper ones. So there again, like Zan said, if the price is just a little bit more than a regular belt and the sucker is good and stiff and won't bend, then, I can highly recommend it. Honestly, some of the tactical vests and stuff, they look really cool, but there again, it kind of goes back to some of the gray man stuff we've talked about earlier. But a lot of times, if you see somebody in like a get home situation, just wandering down the street with the, tactical vest on, chances are they're not going to be treated that kindly. So I know your question was about branding, but that was just kind of something else to keep in mind.
True. One thing I know, previously, I know how you guys are both big fans of Cliff Bars, and I mean myself too, but like I've heard some people mention like, oh, you got to have a couple MREs or you've got to have this kind of stuff. I know that's not really necessary, so it's not so much a question, I don't guess, but just kind of, again, if you guys had any thoughts or feelings on that. I mean, I guess there is some value to having being able to have a heated meal because, sticking a Cliff Bar on a stick over the fire doesn't quite have But, so any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Zan.
I think MREs would probably be last on my list. I mean, that you can open them and eat them. That's you don't even have to cook them. A lot of people think you have to cook them. You don't. But the thing with MREs is the packages are usually pretty big, and there's a lot of stuff in there, which that's why the packages have to be big. So if you're looking at a heated meal, I would honestly probably lean towards the freeze-dried food because you can pack a lot more into a smaller area. Definitely, I think your bug-out bag, there's a place for those in there, but you have to keep in mind that all that requires water, so you're going to have water to do that. If you don't want to go that option, you want to go with the MREs, that's fine, but that they take up a bigger space. The other thing you have to think about is what kind of situation. If it's a get-home situation, usually I think we usually shoot for like 24 hours away. I think I could do without a heated meal for 24 hours personally. But if it's a bug-out situation, that's a whole nother story. I think you'd probably want at least one heated meal. So there's no right or wrong way, and a lot of that too depends on how much room you have in your pack, how much weight that you can carry, and those kind of variables. So Brent, what do you think?
I agree. There's a place for them, especially in like bug out situations and everything. I actually personally don't have any in my bug out. I have some MREs, I just don't have them in my bug out because, like you said, it takes up quite a bit of space. The ones I've got, they come in like a little box. I mean, they're like a half-inch thick and 8 or 10 inches long and like 4 or 5 inches wide. I mean, that's quite a bit of space.
They're pretty good size, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great, but like you said, a get-home situation, you're shooting hopefully no more than 24 hours, maybe stretch that to a day and a half. Honestly, I think if you're going more than 48 hours on a bag, you might as well just build a bug-out bag for 3 days to a week. But yeah, I'm like you. I want food as easy to eat as possible, which is why I absolutely love Cliff Bars and, like the calorie bars. I don't remember what the rest of them are called, like mainstay bars or whatever.
Yeah, there's so many good ones out there, really.
Yeah, because all you do is just break them open and start eating. And they're actually pretty tasty, especially Cliff Bars. I mean, I eat the things for fun. But it's just, I mean, to me personally, I can go without a hot meal for a day or two. And the ease of preparation, I mean, you open a package. You don't have to have water, you don't have to do this, you don't have to have a fire or what have you. I would probably go with the dehydrated more so, because at least even those, well, I was going to say you can eat those without, hot water, but at the same time, you might as well have the MRE at that point. So, I mean, if you want to go that route, that's great. Just take into account you're going to have the water, you're probably going to have a way to heat the water. And that's, other items you have to have in the bag. So
again, I think it's good for the bug out bag, but going back to the get home bag again, just keeping it simple and practical. I mean, there's a chance you never use this stuff. I mean, I've used mine a couple times. Like I've been stuck somewhere and I actually was hungry and didn't have any food, so I just happened to pull one of my Cliff Bars out of my get home bag and it was there. So that's the one time I have used it. But I've also had situations where they've almost set in my bag for a year and gone out of date, which you can eat them after they're out. If they're shortly out of date, you can eat them because I wasn't going to waste it because I'm such a cheapskate. But you're looking at $5 or $6 for a box of Cliff Bars compared to MREs or like, I don't know, $8-9 for one of them maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
So the cost, it just seems like I would want to go with something a little bit cheaper for the probability that you're not going to have to use it. So if it does go bad, you're not out a lot, And it's something you could eat every single day. I don't want to eat MREs every single day, honestly.
Nope.
So Cliff Bars, then ramen noodles, basically.
Actually, that's not a bad idea to carry ramen instead of freeze-dried food if you wanted to go that route, because it'd be the same concept, but a whole lot cheaper and less room, actually, I think.
Well, it'd be kind of, I don't know, it'd almost be a toss-up on the room because like some of the packets of ramen are actually kind of big.
Yeah, I guess that depends. It would cook quicker than the freeze-dried food, though, for sure.
That's true. It's actually not a bad idea. I hadn't thought of it, but I mean, I've got it for like bug-in situations, but I never thought about throwing it in a bag or anything. So
yeah, that would be definitely a good one to start out with, and then go from there.
Yep.
Sweet. Other thoughts on as far as like what do you guys carry? Do you just do as far as hydration stuff? I know there's the water straw and bladders, and a lot of people will do a canteen or something of that nature. And what I've been able to kind of get from my own very limited experience in thinking about the situation, it seems to me that the best would be almost like you could find like a stainless steel type reusable bottle or something like that, so you could also heat water in it, if you needed to. What do you guys personally carry, and what do you think, or what do you feel about that?
In my get-home bag, I actually don't have anything like that. I just carry plastic water bottles, and then I have one of those collapsible water bottles that'll fold up to like nothing, kind of like a mini bladder. And that's all I've got. I'd have purification tablets and a coffee filter and bandanas as a combination to filter everything. And then I have a life straw. So the combination of the bottled water, the makeshift filtration with the tablets, and then the life straw, all that is what I carry in my bag because it's basically weightless other than the actual bottle full of water. And then if your bottle runs out, you can then scoop water up into that bottle if you need to. I do carry a plastic canteen that's got a metal cup with it, kind of like the old school military ones. Bear Grylls makes a pretty good modern version of that, and it's relatively inexpensive. I carry that for my bug out bag, so I do have that option to boil, or if I needed to boil water to cook food, or just put food in it to eat it out of, or whatever. I have that for my bug out bag, but not the get home bag, so that's my setup.
All I honestly carry is a couple empty bottles. I don't have a collapsible just because I haven't spent the money on it. Great idea. And I have a couple different types of filter straws. One of them is the life straw. The other one is one that will filter out heavy metals, so if I'm ever apparently surviving radiation or nuclear fallout, I can at least drink the water. So that's nice anyway. But that's honestly all I carry for water. I think I may have thrown some tablets in there and a couple filters, like bandanas and stuff. I think that's about it. Because, 24 hours, you can survive 24 hours without water. It may not be fun, but you can do it. So.
Or at least like one bottle. And Brent, I'm sure you've seen it anytime we've rode together. I just always have a bottle of water regardless. Like I'm just constantly drinking water. So even if I had nothing, it's just out of habit. I've always got a bottle of water with me.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a pretty good idea. Just keeping one in the car. That's usually where your get-home bag's going to be, keeping one around you at work. If anything happens, if you bring your bag in to wherever you're at, just making sure you always have a bottle around. Because like I said, 24 hours, you can survive without water. It's not going to be pleasant, but you can do it. So
this is another segues into something else that's potentially interesting. So, like you had mentioned just now, Brent, keeping it in the car or potentially picking it into work with you. My current job, there's no rules or anything specifying that you, couldn't have your CCW and carry while you were on duty or in the office. But like the job will soon start with the city of Springfield, I will be subject to things. It's a law enforcement job, so I won't I'll have to, it'll be a lot more security type stuff. So I don't think bringing my get home bag into the operation of or office of emergency management building is going to work out that well. So
You might actually be surprised because FEMA and there's a couple other, like the CDC and all them, actually have preparedness websites that tell people to put most of the stuff we've talked about together. They may not want you walking in with like a tomahawk, a machete, and a camp axe. But, I mean,
that was kind of my thoughts. I mean,
I honestly, I don't know the situation. I mean, they may not, but a lot of times if you're any type of enforcement, I mean, they'll let you know for sure. It's like you cannot have guns, period. Okay, well, that's pretty clear. But, I mean, I know a lot of times some of those jobs, it's actually easier to get by with a lot of that stuff once you have that type of job. So, I mean, it's just something you'll have to ask them. But, I mean, if you want to bring it, if they have a thing like, say, against knives and, firearms and stuff, which will probably be almost a guarantee, you can always leave those in the car and bring everything else with you. Now, I mean, if it's something where they're going to be, opening the bag and dumping it out every single day, then you may, decide you just want to leave it in the car. So, I mean, it's just going to kind of depend on them.
Yeah, I think the rules and stuff are going to depend upon a lot, because my first thought was, forget your get-home bag, leave it in the car, and just rely on your EDC, which, the EDC is super underrated. I think a lot of people just think you've got to have these bags for every single thing. I mean, there's a slim chance I could get by just what I have on me if I was in a situation where I needed to just get home. So, the knives, firearms, any other kind of sharp objects or pepper spray, that's going to vary from location, based on what their rules are and what they're going to allow. But that's what I would, that's a whole nother thing, is everyday carry stuff. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't even worry about the bag. I never take my bag in with me anywhere. I always take it with me if I'm on the road, but I don't ever take it in with me anywhere. I just rely on EDC.
Honestly, that's what I do most of the time. I mean, I've got a completely different job than you two guys have. It's not a big deal. I could walk into my work with an M4 and everybody would probably, if they could shoot it. But
in the store.
Yeah. I mean, nobody would really care what I'm doing. But,
to chop onions.
Yeah, right. I get the old camp axe out, for this, But
to open the bacon.
That's right. But no, I mean, mainly I rely on EDC most of the time. My get-home bag, honestly, a lot of times ends up kind of forgotten. I know where it's at in case I need it, but I've tried to set up my EDC stuff where I don't have to have it. I mean, it makes life a whole lot better, but I wouldn't, have to absolutely have it to survive for like, a 24-hour or 36-hour, trip home.
It's a nice compliment, though.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of how I treat everything. My get-home bag is complement to my EDC, and my bug-out bag is complement to the get-home bag. It just kind of is domino effect.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, you move in like concentric circles. You start out with you and everything you can have on you, and then you move out. Well, it would also be nice if I had this, so you get a little bit bigger, and then you get a little bigger and a little bigger, and
right.
Eventually, hopefully, you make enough money, you can have a doomsday bunker with 25 years of food and invite me in.
I'll still pass on that.
If somebody had the money and offered, I'll take it.
I would too, but I don't like that's. I'm super practical on this stuff. We all still have to live our lives and have some fun. So.
I'm just saying, if it was offered.
Oh yeah, if it was offered, that's totally different. But.
Well, if I ever win the lotto, you guys are invited. Okay.
All right.
I don't know about the whole zombie preparedness plan, but we'll work on that later. That was really probably about all I had for tonight, guys. Is there anything else that?
Well, let me ask you real quick. What was it that actually started going through your mind? I mean, I know I had talked to you like years and years ago, and you're like, hey, check this out. I'm really getting into kind of some of this stuff. This is really cool and all that. And then, I mean, life happens and, you kind of move on and everything. I was kind of shocked whenever you started talking to me about a little bit of this stuff. So I was just curious what kind of went through your mind whenever you started kind of getting into this a little more.
honestly, the thought process is at the time when I first started kind of getting into it, like at the very first, what you were talking about,
Right.
it was more from a I don't know, this is neat, this is cool, this is like, this is being a man, this is awesome. I want to go out and be able to live in the woods and, build my own house and food and all this stuff.
Which is still cool, but yeah.
Yeah, it totally is. It's totally rad. But then it became a thing of, here more recently, it was kind of like, well, really, like, I mean, I've got the kids, I've got, my wife and I. Was like, well, what if something were to happen? Because I don't know, the age and maturity thing kind of plays into it, but also then like the having a family and stuff. I guess when you've got more to lose, you've got more to, kind of take into consideration. And I think that was part of it. Just kind of, this stuff's, I mean, with all the severe weather even we've seen in the past couple of weeks throughout the Midwest and other stuff like that, they say up to 72 hours for someone to get to you in the case of an emergency. Well, if I've got the kids for that weekend and something happens and cell phones are out, power's out, I can't get hold of their mom, and I'm responsible for them, I want to be able to, make sure I can take care of them until help arrives for us. So that was really kind of my train of thought with that. Just wanting to make sure that, we can be able to do things the way we're supposed to and survive and take those steps to, position ourselves better going forward.
That's cool. I mean, like I said, this is something I've enjoyed for a long time. It kind of came from a totally different route with me. I mean, obviously I don't have the kids or anything. It's just, something I like to be prepared. I'm a little OCD. I like, I don't like surprises. So no, I mean, that's cool. One thing you might also kind of think about beginning to, and this will actually tie into a later show. I know we've talked about Zan, kind of your bug in type stuff too. Don't overlook it in favor of some of the bags and everything, because a lot of times, especially with the weather and all that, yeah, it's nice if you're getting ready to get smacked with a tornado and you need to get the crap out. But a lot of times, you'll be able to stay home, unless it's something really dire. And so I mean, make sure you have enough food at the house, for the kids and for everybody, just in case you end up in that situation. And it may be something, make sure you have games and stuff too. So it may be something that you end up, with who knows what all happening, and you just need to stay home and stay out of it. So, don't overlook that stuff either. I don't know how, well you guys are stocked or whatnot. I don't need to really, but that's just something else kind of keep in mind.
One other thing I'll add too is it's awesome to hear you coming from the perspective that you're coming from as far as how you got into it. Most people get into this stuff because of politics or zombies or some of this far out stuff. Just to hear people come from a kind of common mindset of extreme weather, or in my case, my one of the biggest things that got me a couple years ago was job loss. Like, okay, I lose my job today. How am I gonna survive until I get a new one? Or if the economy tanks, which you might say that's political, but let's just say something happens and the value just of everything goes down. How do you survive? It's just more of a trying to keep everything you do in the preparedness mindset as practical and simple as possible. I mean, I've talked to people that are really into the zombie thing, and if that's what it takes for them to get prepared in one way, shape, or form, that's fine, cool. But it's really awesome to hear you kind of come at it from a level-headed standpoint.
Thanks.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people end up, like me, I got into it kind of political. I mean, I was never, they're spying on me via my teeth fillings and stuff like that. But, I was always, bad things happen and all that. It's actually kind of weird because the more I've got into preparing, the less paranoid I've been about stuff.
Me too.
But at the same time, I mean, that was kind of where I got into it. I never cared much or worried about the zombie apocalypse or whatever. Mine stemmed from politics, and like Zan said, it's actually really cool to hear somebody that's like, okay, well, this is just a practical thing. And I would think a lot more people did, and that's kind of, the basis of the show. It's like we're not, trying to get everybody to wear a tinfoil hat. It's, you have families, you have lives. Let's try to keep, emergency and, disasters impact as little as possible on it.
Yeah. So at the risk of derailing just for a moment, though, did either of you happen to catch a little small blurb of an article in the news leader on Monday in which they were talking about up in St. Louis, a man was arrested. I believe it was a man was arrested, but they were not able to charge him because, unable to charge him, they would have had to divulge information about an FBI.
Sorry about it. It looks like we actually just lost Andrew. Received a message. His computer just kind of crashed on him. We'll assume it has nothing to do with the story involving the FBI that he mentioned. Make that what you will. So we'll go ahead and close the show out. We'll try to get him back on another time. He had some really good questions. It was a lot of them I hadn't really thought about. I mean, I guess it was ones I had when I first started, but I hadn't thought about for a while. What did you think?
It's just really refreshing to see somebody else coming from a level-headed perspective. No zombies, no governments here to kill us, none of that stuff. It's just, there's bad weather, or maybe there's nothing, and I'm just trying to, make life a little bit more comfortable if it does go bad, just in case. And like, I wish more people would kind of approach it like that. Sadly, it's the other way around. It's things are taken to an extreme, and that, I guess, that extreme mindset, again, if that's what it takes to get you into it, that's one thing. But it's, like you said, once you get into it, you kind of start mellowing out because you get a little bit more prepared every day, be it mental, physical, spiritual, or just with your straight up equipment. Every day you're getting better, and if you just keep that mindset, the stress level is going to go down, and eventually, whenever disaster strikes, hopefully you're going to be ready. So,
yeah, I agree. That's, like I said, earlier, that was kind of the reason we did this. I mean, there's so many reasons to do this besides, the aliens and the government and reptilians and this and that and the other. With that, we'll go ahead and close out this show. I thought it was a pretty good one. Be sure to, if you have any questions, comments, about this, maybe you have some ideas that we can, relate to Andrew and other people. Be sure to get a hold of us. The website's everydaypreparedness.net. All the podcasts are on there. We got a YouTube channel if you want to listen to them on YouTube instead. That's there. The email's edpreparedness@gmail.com. Like I said, if you got any questions or anything, be sure to send us an email. Our Facebook is facebook.com/edprepare. And we got a Twitter, which is @edprepare. Interact with us. Check with us. Maybe you have questions like this. Maybe we can figure something out and get you guys on a show or something else like that. We can figure something out anyway. With that, we'll close it out. You guys take care and stay safe.
See you guys.